Hello and welcome to LedgerCast. My name is Brian Krogsgaard. I am here, as per usual, with Josh Olszewicz. Hey, Josh.
You know, as per usual is my thing.
I know I stole it.
I
stole it again. I'm sorry. I forgot. I realized it as soon as I said it.
Written that statement.
Trademark.
You will be hearing from my lawyers.
It's trademarked.
It's trademarked. It's copywritten. It's whatever.
Yeah. A copyright. I mean, you can do copyright infringement, but if you trademark a line, it's different.
Your lawyers will be hearing from my lawyers. That's what I'm saying.
Sorry. Hey, you've been magical crypto conning today.
I have been.
How'd it go?
It's been an interesting experience. It
was VR?
It is VR, but you can access it through the browser. Little buggy, but overall it was fine. It's pretty cool to like walk around.
Did you
like you're in a video game?
Yeah, did you wear a piece of cardboard on your head all day?
No, I did not. I just did the browser version. But yeah, it was fine. We had an exchange panel. We had a stablecoin panel. I think they'll be up on YouTube eventually. The audio is kind of meh, so hopefully they can adjust that in the recordings. But yeah, I think the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway from both the panels is that on the stablecoin panel, we had a USDC person, Joao. I don't know how to say his name. Still, I feel terrible. Joao is his first name. And Paolo from USDT, Bitfinex. And both of them said that the stablecoin money is new money coming in and it's institutional.
Nice. That was my big question for you. You asked it. I appreciate you.
Yes, that's really, I think that's good news in general.
Yeah.
For everything, you know.
So free shout out.
So I'm bullish on that, bullish on onboarding, bullish on millions of dollars of printing. I also asked Paulo about why don't we have a Bitfinex audit yet, or whatever, Tether audit yet. And he just said, it's in the works. Basically, you can't really talk about it because of the legal stuff they're entangled with currently.
What year is it, man?
Yeah, I mean,
well,
I
don't know. I look forward to seeing.
It's like to me, it's super simple. Like, here's my bank account. Here is a statement from the bank every month. Here's what I have in the bank account. Thank you, bank. Like, shouldn't it just be that easy?
I don't know, but free shout out, Magical CryptoCon. Check out Josh's panel when it gets out to the public, or I think you can still go to this tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's today and tomorrow.
So
I think it's just about over now.
Enjoy that. However, you know what else we have? We have an official partner. That's right. It's Matcha. Go to ledgerstatus.com/matcha. M-A-T-A. Wait, no. M-A-T-C-H-A. Match A. Matcha. Ledgerstatus.com/matcha. If you're listening to stream, I want you to visit that right now. Go make a freaking trade. Using that URL. I did it today. In fact, the default video there is for Curve, and that's what I bought. That is what I bought. I'm shilling my bags in the ad read. I bought Curve through Matcha. It tells you, like, expect X amount of slippage. It's going to spread that order out over multiple liquidity pools so that you reduce your slippage. I was actually talking to their team yesterday about the slippage versus fee ratio there. Like, would I rather have, like, I don't know, an extra 1% of slippage, or would I rather have like the little higher fee or whatever, you know? And they said most of the time the lower slippage, higher fee for going across multiple pools is better. So they got a study coming out on that apparently, and they got a lot of cool stuff they're working on. Great product. Really excited to be working with them. And I need you to go to ledgerstatus.com/matcha to check it out. Right, yeah. Make a trade on Matcha, see how it is. This makes it much simpler to trade for everybody, including you. And it's a DEX. It's non-custodial. It's DeFi. It's got all the good stuff. So
it's really what ZRX always wanted to be in the pooled liquidity.
It made it
decentralized, non-custodial.
Yeah.
Like, I'm impressed with it. I haven't used it yet, but
just from a look and feel perspective, and they got a big roadmap for everything they're doing. I won't share it all right now, but over time, as they're getting closer to features and stuff, I certainly will. We're looking forward to being their partner.
I can see Coinbase like evolving their whole system to the Matcha UX because it's
better.
It's just better. I don't want to say stupid simple again because that is like a negative connotation perhaps, but It is like stupid proof. It is pleb proof. You know?
Yeah.
Which is good. That's what we need in crypto. That's exactly what we need.
Yeah,
For
and
years and years and years, everyone's complained about the UI UX situation for everything to do with crypto trading, crypto interfaces, you know. So this is all good news, really.
Yeah. And their assets are curated. So like if you're looking for band or uni or whatever, like they've got the one, rather than you can put in any old contract address and get scammed if you're looking through Uniswap directly, if you don't have a careful eye. So that's nice for all those top assets. So yeah, y'all go try it out. We've waited a long time for a partner that we could talk about confidently. So there you go. Matcha. Ledgerstatus.com/matcha. Hey, speaking of our bags, the old Bitcoin.
What is it? What, 5 minutes in? What is this? Go ahead.
I only briefly showed my bag there. Bitcoin's been dancing around though. Like it's been a little indecisive. I feel like we've been ticking with the dollar, like super closely. What are your feelings about the market?
So there's really two big things. I'm watching the W double bottom trying to form on BTC and ETH. That's the first thing. And the second thing is the daily cloud on BTC. We're still inside the cloud, and that is indeterminate, trendless, anything goes behavior is expected. So to see everything that's happening really isn't too crazy.
Because it's all inside that cloud.
Right. And it's not even hindsight. It's like, okay, when we go in the cloud, anything is possible. Anywhere the cloud is arranged where it can go, but which it's done over the past 4 or 5 days, top to bottom, it can do anything.
Yeah.
So this is all par for the course. Really.
Sometimes the dadgum cloud just is annoyingly simple. It's
well, you can't really trade like what's going on right now based on the cloud, which is like the knock against it. But at the same time, the cloud is telling you not to trade it, right? This is the no trade zone, literally.
It's giving you your larger signals. Meanwhile, I've been making trades left and right because, why not? What I feel like the market's been following is this freaking dollar chart, man, the Dixie. Like I feel like legacy and then by default crypto on the low time frames around market open, in the evenings sometimes after these consolidation at the end of the afternoon, you get a breakout in the Dixie and it's just got an immediate effect on Bitcoin, on legacy markets. And they've all been looking for this upside because this is have you ever seen a more perfect, like bottomy head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders type of deal? I was
just going to say, it looks really good.
It's
and we've talked, I don't know if we've talked about that on the pod or I don't know, somebody was talking to me about that. 4 Aces, maybe. Shout out to 4 Aces. About this invert head and shoulders.
Yeah, there's great. A couple of places of potential resistance. One of them is where we are right now, which isn't really visible on the daily, but if you go to the 4 hour, there was a cluster over here on the left side. So it's kind of like maybe it'll chill here, but it doesn't look done. Like this pattern, the full measured move is a good bit higher. So,
I'm just gonna measure it out. Yeah, it's between 94.8 and 95.6. So it's got a little ways to go.
Yeah. So if I don't know that I believe the dollar will make the full measured move. Like I'm not a believer in the strength of the dollar, but after that type of dump off from a high of 102, like it did that whipsaw early this year, back in the same time as the market went to crap. But then when it consolidated and broke down from 99.5 to 91.73, it's a pretty severe drop despite everything that we did, printing and everything else. So this feels like get your measured move off of that consolidation on the bottom and then maybe head lower. So I'm looking for some kind of bearish pattern to form as this measured move plays out. Like I could easily see it stopping by 95. Certainly by 96. If it gets over 96, I'll be really surprised.
I was watching USDC NY peripherally as well because yesterday they what's the term? Not loosened.
yeah, something
I'm
monetary
blanking. They increased it by 91 pips, whatever. I forget the fucking term. Sorry for my language, but
that's fine.
Yeah, so I saw that, and that was one of the biggest increases I've seen in a long time from the PBOC. So it's weird that like the Dixie is bullish, which is bearish for crypto. The USD CNY pair, historically, when it's bullish for crypto. So I don't know. There's some weird divergence there, I guess, but
yeah. What I've noticed so far, at least in the dollar sense, is whenever the dollar has a significant up move, it gives a headwind for Bitcoin and other stuff, but it's not an outsized effect. You know, it's like a low time frame headwind, but then the rebound has been pretty quick each time. So it's not that it makes me like hyper bearish. It just makes me think we're probably not going to like break out to the upside until that dollar move is done. So it's an opportunity for Bitcoin to keep consolidating basically. And I can't really make a pattern significantly with all of this action on Bitcoin. Although, like, we got back to 10.2, which was basically my line in the sand, and that was a brutal retest. I mean, it looked like it was ready to break down and go back to that 9.2 level that you and I have talked about, and it held off from it, didn't do it, and here we are again, back up in the range, 10.7 or so.
And ETH especially looked really bad. I thought ETH was just going to go back to 250.
It looked ready. I mean, I've been trying to stay nimble in all this stuff, and it's like, every time I'm like, all right, go into cash with a significant sum, and then it moves like 3 or 4%, and I'm like, well, that's why I went to cash. And then like 30 minutes later, it fully recovers it, and I can feel free to get back in. So it's, it ends up being a scratch minus the fees or whatever, but you're just kind of all over the place.
Yeah, because I was long on the 13th from 10.4, and I held it, and then I let go of it at like 10.2 on Kraken the other day. Mm-hmm. Of course, it's like the literal bottom. But yeah, so here we are back into nothingness. And the only reason I longed this is because ETH was moving up at the time, and so what worried me was that ETH took a massive hit, and I was just expecting everything to just crumble. ETH is down 20% in like 4 days. Yeah, it's insane.
And maybe we still have more downside, and this is some kind of falling wedge type of thing that we're forming, and we're going to go down to the 200-day moving average. That'd be pretty brutal, like top out right around here, 360 or so, and then head back down. I could believe it. It would hurt.
But this W looks really good for ETH, more so than BTC. Like if ETH can reclaim 400,
oh yeah,
I think it's fine.
Certainly, if it can reclaim 400, if we move to what I'm talking about, it really needs to fail like 360, 365, something like that. If a higher high would be anything over like 390, 395 on a daily time frame. And in that case, I think we'll go retest the highs or something. But currently, we could still kind of, fail it here and do some kind of falling wedge or broader pennant, something like that. I'll be looking for this higher high, I guess, is what I'm saying.
So the old head and shoulders on ETH, the target zone for that was 340 to, sorry, I'm just pulling it up. It's fine. Like 320 to 340, and we did hit that target almost perfectly. So to expect like a further bearish move off of just the head and shoulders alone, I don't think is warranted. This had a bull div or no? Yeah, it did have a bull div on %B. It did not have a bull div on RSI. But anyway, so yeah, I think it's okay where it's at if it can go back, reclaim 400.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not that opinionated either way. It's just whether or not it opens me up to other opportunities because I'm still playing so many of these altcoins, and the gains have been a little harder, but they've still been there. Our old friend Uni that we talked about last week. It's basically been ranging ever since we talked about it.
Yeah, and even the ETH USD pair is inside of the cloud again. So like we talked about last week, like if all this stuff can reset and the price returns above the cloud after turning bearish to bullish again, like
that would be super bullish.
I cannot be a bear there, right? Like
sure. I just don't think we're going to get that. I think, sub 380, 360 to 380 would be great if we just stay there, give it more time to recover.
But I don't think that's great for the environment. Like you can't be bullish everything if ETH and BTC are bearish, right?
Are they bearish that way, or are they just choppy sideways? Choppy sideways I can handle. It's like, it's the fear of that move from like 10.2 to 9.2, or, the move in Ethereum from, what are those daily levels? Like 320 to like 270. Those are pretty brutal. If we can make a higher low off of 320 ETH and 10, now it's like 10,225 Bitcoin, then that's good. That's bullish. But I don't know.
I guess so what I'm trying to say is I don't know how much more mean reversion we can get without it being bearish is what I'm trying to say.
Sort of like a more prolonged bearish move.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't see like a massive downside at this point. If we survive the 20% drop and we can go and reclaim 400, I think we're good. I think it'll take like 2 weeks to get there, but September is always bad for crypto, and September's almost over. October, November, December, Q4 is usually bullish.
Good. Yeah, and I guess Legacy helped with that. I mean, I was ready for downside in Legacy. And then I think it was yesterday, we started really showing some signs of support around the 2020 open. So that's what made me decide to put some money back in from long-term accounts. We could go to the 200-day moving average, 310, but we were due for a bounce. So I got back in, and maybe I think all this stuff is correlated. Legacy's trying to show a recovery. What's the percentage dip that Legacy had from the top? It is. Yeah, it had more than a 10% dip from the top for Legacy, which is not insignificant in the Legacy market, especially in a world where inflation may be real and the desire for real assets is certainly real. Maybe that was enough. Maybe we dink around and consolidate or whatever from here for a little bit till the election still, but maybe that was our pre-election jitters.
I'm just ready for the election to be over. I'm ready. Yeah. Whoever wins is whatever. As long as it's done and settled, that's all I care about.
Yeah. I have opinions about who I want to win, but I mean, I agree with you. I just want the certainty. I don't think anything dramatic is going to change in the world no matter what. So the certainty for the sake of the markets and getting all that talk out of the world, I'm ready for it. Just be gone. Move on.
Even the VIX is down though. The VIX is at 26 again. So
yeah, I haven't even looked at the VIX much. Is that what you got it open right now?
Yeah, and I saw there were 2 vaccine stories yesterday that I saw. Again, because of the argument that the VIX doesn't go below 30 until you have a vaccine, and just my basic knowledge of vaccines tells me we're not going to get a vaccine until next year at the earliest.
Trump's been spouting that it'll be October.
Yeah, I mean that's
aggressive.
That's ultra hyper uber aggressive. October. So Novavax is one, and then the other one was, what was the other one? Yeah, I guess it was Novavax phase 3. So yeah, I don't know. It's too early for that to even think about that. Obviously, he's trying to help his election cause, I guess, but
yeah, after the election, the vaccine news will be more believable.
Yeah, I agree.
But nevertheless,
that's Legacy, but we're still correlated like 60-70%.
And that's on what is the correlation? The one that you always show us. What is that correlation time frame?
30-day rolling.
Okay, because I was debating this with somebody, with the Void today, because I was like, I don't care what anybody says. These low time frame ticks, they matter between Legacy and Bitcoin. I just watch them. That's all I have to see. Like,
Well, look at the weekly. So the weekly 30-day rolling, which would be the 210-day rolling. Is that right?
yeah,
So it's 30 periods on the weekly. Yeah. So whatever that is in months is nearly 100% for SPX and NASDAQ.
yeah,
It's at like 98, 99%. It's insane how correlated we still are. So even on like the 30-day rolling, like you could go, okay, maybe it's like back and forth, but this year overall, we are highly correlated with legacy.
yeah. The biggest difference that I feel like exists is you look at some of the general health, like obviously everything that happened in March, super correlated, the recovery as well. But sometimes it's the degree of the move that's different, right? Like if Bitcoin goes up 200% while legacy goes up 80% or something, it's because the low time frames could all dance together, but then the reaction is of different degrees of violence that make a difference over time, you know, in terms of like how much they go one way or the other. But
yeah, and crypto will move on the weekend, and
yeah,
the other stuff isn't even open on the weekend. So
right. So the effects that correlation has can end up looking a little different over time. It's not perfectly drawn, but it's still impactful. I don't think you can look at crypto in a vacuum right now. It's just,
yeah,
I see it too many times, too many days. Like something happens on the dollar and legacy and whatever, and all of a sudden it's having an outsized effect on Bitcoin price.
Which is all the more reason to not fully commit to one side of the trade or the other for BTC and ETH right now.
Yeah.
Like all we're talking about are reasons to not be in a trade here.
Yeah.
Even if the correlation is high or the anti-correlation is high with legacy, and like you think you know what's going on, I don't know. I don't see it as far as a trade setup right now.
Well, you know, because of all this relative uncertainty, we had a drawdown on the DeFi narrative over, I don't know how long it's been. Since September 12th is at least when this asset that I've got up right now. So it's been about 2 weeks since the DeFi top, and the long trades since then have been relatively hard to come by at times. And we've seen 30 to 50% drawdowns on some of these different assets, even the larger ones.
Wow, that to interrupt you.
Yeah.
That inverted head and shoulders looks a lot like the Dixie, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. This is Wi-Fi that I have up, YFI, and I have a bag. John, I know this is going to.
Here we go with Brian again.
I know this is going to stun you.
I just happened to come across this chart. Take a look.
Just representative. Yeah. So I tweeted about how I felt like Wi-Fi in particular looked like, you know,
is Adam and Eve over there, man?
Yeah, it had to giddy up or get out because the daily close was 21,770 previously, and it made a lower low, 21,000. And then that sucker went. So like it did what it was supposed to do, you know, like it saved it, made essentially like a swing failure pattern type of thing, put together a little head and shoulders type of thing. So I said, you know what? If you want to pump, who am I to stay out?
My only issue with trading that stuff is I don't know the rebasing garbage. I don't know.
Yeah, this one
yield garbage. You know what I mean?
This one doesn't rebase. The founder says there's no reason to own this token and it shouldn't really have value.
So I should stay out of it.
No, I don't think so, because actually I think there is reason for this one to have value. But nevertheless, it's responded well. It's and this is representative of a bunch of alts that are starting to look like they've got some reversals in them. Even some of the ones that have been super dead.
Well, nothing warmed my heart like Link dumping.
Oh,
what was it? It dumped on the BTC pair. It's down 56% from the high. It's up 30% over the past day or so. But
yeah, so I didn't play any of that downside. Although, like you said, down 50%. But I played the crap out of the upside. I mean, this thing, I was just watching capitulation happen live. Like if you look at this curve, you know, it's like, so when I saw it starting to bounce after it just was vertical down, I bought that on spot at 770, and I felt pretty good about my entry. Like I thought it was going to be an okay trade, and I was somewhat jokingly like, we'll sell this baby over $10 tomorrow or whatever. And then it hit $10 in 24 hours. It was crazy. I didn't hold it that whole way. I think I sold it at 9:30. I tried getting back in this morning and then got shaken out, and then it went up 10%. This thing, despite as big of a cap as it is, it just moves. Like the trends on Link are insane.
Well, the reason it moves so hard is because there's virtually none of it on the exchanges. If you look at
where is all the Link?
Well, if you look at the on-chain analysis, most of it is off exchange.
Wow.
So that's a big part of the reason why it exploded the way it did, or the reason it can explode. The same way with the downside. There's just you could argue that it's easier to buy it than to sell it if you don't own it, right? But
yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a big part in the volatility, and a lot of it's just not on the exchanges right now.
Well, check out this Link ETH pair, because this one fascinated me. Ever since it flipped the 200-day moving average back in August 2018, the end of every Link dip was at the Link ETH 200-day moving average, especially in the past year, since like in January and in 2020. Like when it got to that 200-day moving average on Link ETH, it was bottom. And that was, when I saw that, I was like, oh man, I'm in, and I'm feeling good about it. And that sucker just went ham. Like, I don't know that it'd make a new high or anything on this. Like, it still looks kind of done to me, especially, if you just put it in linear for the fun of it. It looks like a market that's, just enjoying a last little bearish hurrah.
Yeah, I agree. Again, we've said this for a couple of weeks now. I think Link needs to relax for a while, but
yeah, at best, I feel like it needs to consolidate. Like if it just rampaged up above 20 again or something, I'd be really stunned. But it's been a fun bounce, and that thing, it moves crazy fast. So I expect some sideways from here on Link after a 30% day followed by a 12% day. But point being, we've seen some pretty violent buying power, buying reactions after what feels like a local bottom on some of these DeFi altcoins, hype altcoins. I'm not noticing anything exciting about the old guard, and I put Tezos in that environment too. Like it looked like it capitulated, but the bounce is puny in comparison. And Tezos and Link were hand in hand, but Tezos doesn't have the DeFi narrative, whereas Link does. And I guess the old guard coins just don't have it. Like the juice is not there. Zcash, like XRP, they just don't have it.
You either got it or you don't. And they don't got it.
Look at EOS. Ugh. That is bad. That's probably bottom things. No, I'm going to go ahead and say it's not bottom things on EOS. I think EOS is in the world's largest distribution. It's just multi-year. Get me out of my bag. EOS BTC is absolutely disgusting. I would not, can you imagine holding this?
No.
Me either. But it's still a large cap. But those are just moving so much slower than the new and shiny things. Even though some of the new and shiny things, especially with their large inflation, like Balancer here took a 55% drawdown over the course of a couple of weeks, relative to BTC. So it doesn't even that doesn't even compare to the overall drawdown. The overall drawdown, 34 to 13, a 62% USD drawdown. So, if you never took profits on the first leg of this DeFi stuff, then you're just hoping that you get back to where you started, pretty much, which would be brutal. So I've been trying to take profits on this stuff. Like the tenure of my trades has been pretty short. Are you trading any of the new stuff? What have you been looking at?
Have I been trading? Let me think. No.
I guess they're just getting on centralized exchanges. Like they're just getting broader awareness.
Staking Tezos was big for me. I recently sent ETH to some DEX to pool. That was on the 13th. So I've been a pooler since the 13th.
Yeah. You're a liquidity
September.
you're a liquidity provider. You're farming for a token by providing liquidity, but you're doing it in a very safe way. You're doing Ethereum and like a wrapped Ethereum, and you're providing a pool. It's basically people switching between, regular Ethereum and the wrapped Ethereum. You're providing liquidity for them, and you're earning a token through that, which is yield farming. You're a yield farmer. You're a farmer.
Sure. But yeah, other than that, I have not partaken in any trading other than that, really.
Well, there are trades out there still, sir, and I think
that YFI chart looks good. I can't deny it. On the tech, it looks great.
Once you get accustomed to the fact that one Wi-Fi is $27,000, which is $4,000 more than it was about an hour ago or 3 hours ago, it's hard to come to terms with the price of that.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's not super relevant. All that really matters is the percent change, right?
Right. It's just weird to get used to it first. You're like, buying like partial Wi-Fis or whatever, one Wi-Fi. You can buy a partial Wi-Fi, everybody.
Buy a fraction of a Wi-Fi. Yeah, I know what you mean. I was just looking at Tezos USD again, and on the half-year MA, it is in the buy zone, which is weird.
Just that's kind of like saying it's oversold, and it was oversold. It was similar the last half of 2018.
Yeah, so 2019, earlier in March, it's at a similar position.
Yeah,
on the moving averages.
Yeah,
I just can't clear my throat.
It's fine. I'm pouring myself more coffee.
Sounds good.
It's I got my fancy Chemex. This is my third Chemex today, and these things hold like 8 cups of coffee. So I've been on the struggle bus. Let
me just look at EOS again. Sorry, real quick,
that's fine.
Because EOS and LTC are basically the same chart, which is super weird, but they just are. Yeah, I don't know, man. EOS. I agree with you. I would never touch it for any reason, really, anyway. But just on trend, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to stick with where's the narrative, and the protocols. They don't have it right now. Like, if you're not a DeFi protocol, everybody's pretty content with Ethereum. So unless ETH 2.0 sucks, or if layer 2 stuff on Ethereum doesn't work, like maybe there's an opening, but.
Well, look what happened with Neo and the Flamingo stuff today. Did you see any of that?
Did it blow up?
So they released some DeFi something, and the network got messed up.
Uh-oh.
Neo has like 7 nodes, all of which are run by the Neo Foundation. And I don't know, one of the nodes got borked. I don't exactly know what happened, but it sounds like the network got clogged or halted or something. I don't know.
A lot of volume on Neo. It still doesn't look great in a long-term sense. Like it's way off its highs.
I mean, it looks like coffee, and if anything, right?
Yeah, way off its highs, but it bottomed at $4 and it's at 20, so it's up about 4 or 5x off the March bottoms. But I don't know, that doesn't look very tradable to me.
But it looks like any other alt, like even Monero, very similar price structure.
Yeah, I just haven't been paying attention to this stuff because it's.
If it's not a pickle, I don't want it.
That's right.
Says Brian.
That's right. Here, let me show you a picture of some pickles.
I'm gonna have my pickles and
look at those pickles. No, I'll use pickle as my example in what I was gonna say, which was one of the big things to watch out for if people are like trying to say, "Hey, should I buy one of these new shiny things?" Because like Jim and I just listed like 7 tokens today, and Coinbase is listing stuff left and right, trying to get in on this. Pickle or others, they'll have the yield farming or they'll have staking where people can earn a return. And a lot of these have really high inflation rates. So if you're looking into what's what, look up what their inflation rate is and keep in mind that even though you can buy a good setup, if there's a really high inflation rate, if people are earning like 500 or 1,000% APY on it or something like that, eventually that type of inflation is probably going to catch up to it. So You need to be aware of what's what in terms of how you play it. Because
how dare you talk about inflation in a bull market?
It's a big deal, man. I'm telling you, like the ones with the super high inflation, I feel like they've fallen a lot harder. And some of them are trying to like figure out how to recover from that stuff. Like Sushi went through this. Sushi was the, what do you call Sushi? Sam's Coin?
Sam's Club?
I was saying on Twitter, there needs to be a Sam index.
Yeah, it's called Sam's Club.
It's called Sam's Club. That's what it should be.
That'd be an amazing, amazing index.
A great ticker.
Literally all the coins that have been pumped by Sam.
But you look at something like Sushi, and it went from 70 cents up to $11, and then it's just been this kind of classic bleed. It's at $1.40 right now. I mean, this is the market cycle chart, but I'm on a 1 hour chart, you know? So what do you do from here with these types of things? And you need to look up. I'm not saying you have to have the fundamentals, but kind of getting an understanding of the news flow. Like, is this thing just dead forever? Is it a scam? Is there volume? Is it getting centralized listings? What's going on with the development? Like those kind of fundamentals, they do matter in terms of where to go. And I'm trying to pay attention to the stuff that, yeah, maybe it gets wrecked on a price perspective, but they have a new narrative that they can figure out over time. And if you don't do that, I think you can get stuck in one of these, and then it's just high inflation. If you're not staking it or doing whatever else they ask you to do, I mean, you can get stuck. It can not go so well for you. So it's not the easiest. You got to relearn a lot of stuff in the DeFi landscape.
Well, I feel like Tezos is in that boat. It's like, okay, 80% of the network's being staked. Hurrah. And then what, right?
But if you're not one of the ones staking, then what's that mean for you?
You're right. So if you're holding and not staking, you're getting a double whammy.
And I had a friend who they had, I think it was MTA. MTA's been getting obliterated, and they weren't even staking it. Like they weren't taking profits, and they weren't staking it, and they had a whole bunch of it. And I was like, dude, you can go at least earn whatever they're offering. It's like 100% APY for going to stake this thing on their website. So you should at minimum do that. But if you're not paying attention, you can get double wrecked if the price goes against you. Like I'm playing Curve right now. That's the one Josh was joking with me about earlier. Curve has high inflation. Like this is not something that I'm going to just say like, oh yeah, I'm going to hold this for like the next 6 months without staking it, because if that was the case, I need to go on their website and I need to lock it up. And for 6 months, I think I'd get like 500% return. So like you got to build that into what your expectations are. You either have to hold it for a very short amount of time for a sudden outburst from a price perspective, or you got to be willing to go stake it and, put your chips in.
Skin in the game.
Skin in the game. Even the ones like Uni, the Uniswap token, they're pooling their primary. There's 4 pools, and I think I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, but there's a spreadsheet out there in the world where it shows like the inflation, the expected APY based on if you're pooling one of those primary pools, and they're like Ethereum, USDT, and stuff like that. There's 4 of them. So if other people are earning 100% per year and you're not, then you need to consider that. Like, it's probably not a buy and hold unless you're going to participate in the network that way. I
mean, I hope that's common sense for people.
I thought so, but I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think it's easy for people to ignore. I'd be afraid of holding any of these more than a week, unless if I'm going to hold something a week, I will spend the Ethereum fees to go put it somewhere and try to earn a yield on it.
Yeah, I can understand that. If it's not going to disappear or dissolve in a week.
Yeah, you have a gold chart up.
Is sushi, speaking of dissolving in a week, is sushi still a thing?
Yeah, I think sushi's a thing, but I did a video on the liquidity wars. I don't know that I'd say sushi is winning them, but I don't know. I'd have to look it up. That's why we have Matcha, because they aggregate that crap for me. I don't have to care whether I'm buying off of Sushi or Uniswap or Mooniswap or whatever. The aggregators help with that. But yeah, I assume maybe somebody in the chat can help us out. Bo Gamer says sushi is finished. I know they're making some adjustments trying to get the interest back in. But it seems like Uniswap's got those liquidity wars, in their court.
I mean, they created a massive community before issuing the token, and then they created all this great brand equity by giving people free money, basically.
More than the stimulus,
I mean, that is it's just a crazy, like, I can't imagine outside of crypto that would happen,
Oh man, I saw a great story. There was some country, not a huge country, where these kids in a class had to do a transaction on Uniswap as part of their class, and then they all got the airdrop.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and it was equivalent to some significant period of time of income for these people, or like their entire tuition was paid for because of the price of the airdrop, like something like that. It was awesome. I think that was on Cointelegraph. I'll look it up, see if we can put it in the show notes. But so there's a ton of liquidity on Uniswap, over $2 billion, but the volume is back down to 200 million over the past 24 hours from a peak of $1 billion. So the volume's down, what's that, 80% from the peak, but the peak of that was also people like going crazy for sushi stuff. The volume when Uni launched their own token got up to maybe like 600 million. So maybe we're normalizing from a volume standpoint, but if they can sustain 200 to 400 million in volume in a day, like that's huge.
The real thing to watch is ETH transaction fees. If those go back to 0, then DeFi's kind of done. Even though it's a lagging indicator, overall, it's a good metric to watch if you're trying to figure out how much steam is left in this engine. So fees are back down to like September lows, basically.
Yeah, they're pretty cheap right now.
So that's a good indication that things are exactly as they feel, and that stuff's slowing down a little bit,
chilling out a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you wanted to do
that's my read.
Yeah, if you wanted to do some longer term farming plays that require a lot of transactions, and maybe now would be the time. But at the same time, maybe you don't want to take as many risks. I tell you what. As part of my own trading, I'm probably representative of this. I bet my DEX volume is down a little bit because I did move some of my trading in order to be in and out a little more, rather than like if I want to be in and out, I don't know if I'm going to hold something an hour. Like I'm trying to snipe a bottom or I'm trying to get a quick trade. I'd rather do it from a centralized exchange in that scenario. Whereas if I think
exactly. Yeah. And now that they're all listing everything, I think ETH fees should just come down because of that. Like there's access outside of a DEX now for a lot of these DeFi projects.
But there should be some normalization where in some instances the liquidity is better on the DEX than it is on the centralized exchange, which is pretty cool. And if the fees come down, but the liquidity is still there through these incentives and stuff, it could be a sweet spot where you take your longer swing trades or whatever. Take your longer swing trades and stuff off of the DEX, and you maybe swing it around a little more on a centralized exchange. Or if you want to set limit orders to take profit over time, maybe you do that on a centralized exchange. So we'll see a little bit of a new paradigm, a little blend of the DEX and the SEX.
Yeah, I think people were leaving the centralized exchanges because they didn't have what they wanted to trade. But now that it's there,
now that they panic listed everything.
Right. I don't think you're going to see many people just leaving centralized exchanges to go to a DEX, unless there's some farming element there. I don't know.
Well, the farming element is there, and I think there's still plenty of good reasons to trade on the DEX, like plenty, including liquidity and farming and whatever, like features that the centralized exchanges just can't do. And
listen, Brian, what I'm trying to say is people in general are lazy and they don't want to move. Especially, I'm just thinking about myself here.
Yeah.
If I have a choice between moving coins somewhere and not moving coins somewhere, I'm just gonna not move the coins.
But you're talking about moving from a centralized exchange to a decentralized, whereas a lot of us are like, okay, we have a lot of funds already on wallets and stuff, and now I don't know that I want to send them to a centralized exchange. And what if I have withdrawal limits on those exchanges or whatever, like other limitations?
I can understand that side of it.
There's also the beauty of limit orders, like that old fashioned thing called a limit order. Like that's pretty hard to do on a DEX, and That's something centralized exchanges can help you with. Centralized exchanges can help you with. I bought more than one dip last week because I had access through a decentralized exchange that I just would have been, asleep for if I was only doing a DEX. I did hear there are whispers of Uniswap 3.0 to include things like limit orders. So, hype.
Hashtag uni.
Hashtag uni. Yeah. What else are you thinking about? You've had a gold chart on your screen. Was it purposeful or?
Yeah, it was just we were scanning legacy and we didn't talk about metals. I didn't realize gold and silver. Someone had mentioned silver in the chat a few minutes ago, but I didn't realize they just got demolished over the past couple of days.
They did. I was actually playing the pennant on gold miners for the upside, and it broke down on me, which is the first time since gold bottomed that I've gotten smoked by one of those gold miner plays. But
has somebody checked on Peter Schiff? Is he okay? Gold is down 5%.
Yeah.
Silver's down 15%. Insane.
Yeah.
Someone asking in the chat what these yellow areas. They're green, but the cloud is what I'm looking at here. The settings, to get super in the weeds, these probably aren't the appropriate settings to use for legacy stuff, but whatever. The point is that the bullish trend is clearly temporarily over for silver and gold here as price re-enters the cloud, just like it has on BTC and ETH. So it will need to reconsolidate, just like it did here in October. It had this drawdown, reconsolidated, and then had another push up. But for me, the trade is to go long or short on exit of the cloud to the top or bottom side. So where gold and silver sit right now, it's not a trade.
You don't really want to be long until it's over like 1950 gold, something like that.
Right. Just what we were talking about in the beginning with BTC and ETH, same thing.
Yeah. So on gold miners, I bought this, the bottom side of this pennant, maybe the equivalent for GDXJ, like 57, something like that. And it broke down from it. Now it's retesting it. So I don't know if it's going to be a fake out. I don't know if it's just a bearish retest before it drops like 20%, but I'll have to decide what I want to do with this next week. One of the things I was thinking about though with gold miners is like they're still really profitable at these levels of gold prices. So if you're just looking at the companies fundamentally, there's not a great argument for why they deserve some massive downside because gold is tanking. That said, they'll probably just follow whatever trend gold follows. I tend to think gold is probably just going to set up a little broader consolidation pattern. It was a really tight consolidation before. Yeah, like if you go to a high time frame like you're showing right now. I mean, that was a pretty severe consolidation, like really, really narrow. Whereas it could go as low as like 1750, 1800 and still be a very bullish consolidation on these high time frames.
Yeah, I mean, this could set up for like a massive head and shoulder or cup and handle,
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at this thing.
Some kind of huge cup and handle would be exactly the type of thing that I think would be super bullish. But
so 50% is 1544. The 618.
Yeah, I don't think it'll get that low.
No, I don't either. But the cup and handle is invalidated if it drops
goes
below 1550.
What's the bottom of that bullish cloud? 1620? 1615. That would be, if it does a cup and handle on a weekly chart, that'd be kind of my bottom of the cup type of positioning. I mean, it just did this huge parabola. Like you have a parabola on that chart. I mean, gold went nuts, for gold. A quick move like that from a 1250, 1300 breakout up to $2,000 an ounce. That's a huge move in less than a year.
Yeah, 70%. Yeah, so the ultimate target for gold, I'm on the record here now. Multi-year target is 26 to 3K.
Yeah, 3,300 by July 2021, right?
3,300 by July 2025.
2025.
Gives me some time, for people to forget about it.
Yeah, that's way too much safety for you. We made a bet, I think, a week or 2 weeks ago, but I already forgot what it is. I'll have to re-listen to the podcast. or if one of our listeners knows, remind us what our bet is so that I can put it on a calendar. Because that's usually what if I make a proper bet, I usually put it on a calendar, and then whenever it comes up, I'm like, man, I was way wrong on that. Forecasting is hard, you know.
The last thing I'll talk about is Tether. I was watching Tether above or below $1, and it briefly went below $1 on the 8-hour time frame, but it's recovered. So my concern was if we stay below $1 on Tether, then we should be more bearish in price in general. So the fact that we've recovered a little bit gives me hope that this will actually resolve to a bullish manner.
I mean, I tend to think we got another run in it.
It's Q4, right? Like that's the ultimate seasonality historically. If I have my almanac open, which I do, it's Q4, right?
Yeah. The only thing that gives me any bearishness is this revenge pump from the dollar. But I think I'm leaning towards just it not playing out near as strong for the dollar as the measured move would indicate, which kind of makes sense fundamentally, right?
Didn't the Fed just come out and say they've done everything they can?
No.
I
thought it was the opposite. I was like, we will continue to do whatever it takes.
I thought Powell said they've done everything they could.
Dude, if he said that, we'd be down 10% in like 30 minutes.
All right. Well, maybe it was a hoax or something. I don't know.
I'm going with hoax.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's not what they said. But
all right. Well, that's really it. I'm watching Cloud on BTC and ETH. I'm watching Tether above or below $1. I'm watching Legacy loosely, but not ignoring it. I'm not really trading DeFi. Glad somebody is.
I am still actively trading DeFi, but I will say I'm a little more careful than I was. And like, I can't tell you how many times I've stopped out on stuff. And that's been part of why it's been important for me to trade more on centralized exchanges, because I'm not going to bag hold this crap, like if it breaks below my entry, I'm out. Like if I have to buy it 5 times and I have 5 break evens or whatever, that's fine. Hopefully I'll catch one, because I'm not holding these for 30, 40% drawdowns. Now they've already had 30, 40, 50% drawdowns on a lot of them. So I do think there's a lot more upside than downside on some of these, but I'm not going to stick around while the market breaks down. That's my 2 cents.
I feel you there.
I mean, that should probably be the case anytime, but there's certain times where your bullish conviction is just so much stronger, Like, I have some bullish conviction. I don't have, like, uber bullish conviction. I feel like we could, alts could just bleed out while Bitcoin goes sideways. Like, that's totally within the realm of possibility. Liquidity leaves the ecosystem a bit. Or Bitcoin could go sideways and they go crazy because people are still hungry for the speculation.
That's what you're saying, Brian.
It could go up
if I'm reading this right. Is price can go up or down? Is that what you said?
It is, but I'm also saying I'm looking for the bullish trade. Like, I'm not looking for the bearish trade.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the bullish trade, but I got to be nimble because life happens fast. Like,
I think it's okay to have a bias. I also think, like you're saying, you need to be grounded if you see a signal. If you have a system and you see a signal, you have to take it seriously, right? Like if we start breaking down from these clouds, I can't be long on BTC and ETH. I just can't. Yeah. So that's all it is, really. That's all it comes down to for me.
Yeah.
And one other thing I'll mention, someone mentioned in the chat about hash rate. There really hasn't been enough coverage about this year because of DeFi stuff, but man, hash rates of everything is just exploding. ETH and BTC especially.
Man, look at that Ethereum hash rate, or the Bitcoin hash rate.
Bitcoin's hash rate's all-time high. ETH is almost back to...
Yeah, but ETH was so high back then. That was like Ethereum mining was having a huge impact on like NVIDIA earnings.
Well, it still is. Like NVIDIA, somebody just released a card like last week, this week, and they're sold out instantly.
I think it was NVIDIA. And you think that's related to crypto mining?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
It's interesting to me if mining is really a better return than farming, because I feel like farming is probably a better return. Maybe it's not as easy. Like maybe the profitability is so certain. on mining that it's okay for people, or maybe it's just what they know. I don't know.
Even Zcash hash rate hit an all-time high.
How are they still profitable though? Yeah, I guess the price has recovered enough.
Because Bitmain released a is it Equihash? Whatever the hash is for Zcash. Bitmain released a new miner recently, and it's just so much better and efficient than all the other ones. That's probably why this hash rate's increasing. But anyway, just something else to pay attention to.
Yeah, I mean, like we said before, in a macro sense, all of this stuff makes it really hard to be bearish, but it's not necessarily screaming at you need to be in a margin long right now either.
No.
If we're looking to buy the dip, I'm still looking at 9,200, the 200-day moving average on Bitcoin, and I guess whatever that accounts for on Ethereum. But that level, I don't think we'll hold 9.2 again if we go back down there. Like, I feel like we held on to 10K, and 10.2 is really the level that matters to me, like by the skin of our teeth. So if we break it again, I feel like we go to 9,200 and get a nice washout across the market. And for Ethereum, it'd be more like 270 with 260, 270s where I'm like aggressively buying if we break down on Ethereum hard.
Yeah, I mean, anything below 9 is going to be a gift from the heavens above for sure.
Yeah, I think that we'll just find plenty of buyers down there, which makes me think we probably won't even get to the 200-day moving average if we break down. But we'll see. Thanks for joining us, y'all.
Thank you, Brian.
That's the show. It's been good to see you. You know what? You can subscribe to the show on YouTube. You can rate us on iTunes. We love those. We need ratings. We need reviews. Help us compete with the big guys. Freaking Portnoy went on Pomp's podcast. Where's our Portnoy type guest? I know you want to talk to him, don't you?
I would gladly rip him to shreds if he comes on this podcast. Gladly.
All right. We'll talk to y'all next time.